The fire didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal what couldn't be shaken. You've walked through more than most people know, seasons that scorched your soul, moments that stripped you of what you thought you needed, long stretches of silence, where God felt distant and your prayers fell like whispers into a void. But even in those moments, especially in those moments, something holy was happening. The fire didn't forget you. It was forming you. Refinement always begins in the invisible. Heaven doesn't rush development. It builds slowly, layer by sacred layer. And while the world saw delay, heaven saw design. You weren't falling apart. You were being fortified. God didn't just want to bless you. He wanted to build you into a vessel that could hold the weight of the blessing without breaking. You asked for abundance, but heaven knew first it had to increase your capacity. And capacity isn't built through comfort. It's forged in fire. There's something different about those who've been through the fire. They walk quieter, but with more authority. They speak softer, but with more weight, because they've been to the edge and back. They know what it means to lose everything and still be held by something stronger than fear. You've been through the kind of refining that burns off what's artificial and leaves only what is eternal. This is the part few people see. The lonely refinement, the sacred undoing, the tearing down of the false so that the true can be born. God pressed you not to crush you, but to draw the oil. He stripped you not to punish you, but to reveal the foundation. He allowed the wilderness not as a punishment, but as a proving ground. In the quiet, He was removing the noise. In the confusion, He was sharpening your discernment. In the stretching, He was teaching you to trust when nothing made sense. You know now what it feels like to obey when it's not convenient. You know what it means to keep walking when there's no applause, no recognition, and no visible reward. That obedience, it carries weight in heaven. This isn't about performance. It's about posture. You've been postured before the throne when no one else was looking. You've worshipped in silence, served in obscurity, and chosen integrity when compromise would have been easier. That posture has formed a spiritual infrastructure that will not collapse when the spotlight hits. That's what the fire was for. And now you're still standing. You may have scars, but you have strength. You may feel weary, but you are wise. The fire may have burned away what was unnecessary, but it left something in you that's unshakable, a knowing that you are not the same. You've been made different for a reason. Because where you're going requires durability. It requires discernment. It requires the kind of faith that doesn't flinch under pressure. And now you carry it. You are no longer reacting to your surroundings. You are responding to a higher instruction. You no longer need validation to move. You move when heaven speaks. And heaven is speaking now. You've passed tests that broke others. You've walked through storms with a trembling hand in God's and didn't let go. You've given when you had nothing. You've encouraged others while praying for your own breakthrough. These things did not go unnoticed. Heaven remembers every seed sown in pain, every act of obedience in private, every yes whispered through tears. These are not forgotten moments, they are sacred markers. And they carry weight. They carry power. You don't rise because you performed well. You rise because you endured well. And make no mistake, the enemy tried to take you out in that season. He whispered lies into your weary heart. He tried to convince you that nothing would change, that your faith was wasted, that your dreams were too far gone. But even in your silence, you resisted. Even in your confusion, you held on. That's called spiritual muscle. And you didn't even realize how strong you'd become. Now the strength you built in the shadows is about to be seen in the light. God doesn't elevate based on charisma. He elevates based on character. And the character He has developed in you through the fire will sustain you in places talent never could. Because the fire wasn't for now, it was for what's coming. And what's coming will not be small. It will require you to stand in rooms where others falter, to speak with authority born not from theory, but from the depths of your survival, to carry solutions not just from intellect, but from intimacy with God. That intimacy, that's what the fire produced. Not distance, but closeness. Not fear, but fire-tested faith. You've walked through enough to know God doesn't waste pain. He repurposes it. What once felt like loss is about to be leverage. What once felt like ashes is about to become an altar. What once felt like silence is about to echo with instruction. Because you've been refined, not reduced. You've been carved into a vessel heaven can trust. And when heaven finds a vessel, it can trust it doesn't just pour in. It pours through. You are not just stepping into a season of receiving. You are stepping into a season of release. And everything that was formed in the fire is now becoming the foundation for divine movement. So walk boldly, Firewalker. You didn't just survive. You were shaped. And now heaven says the vessel is ready. You've been refined. You've been stretched. You've been reshaped by fire. And now something holy is shifting not just around you, but inside you. You're starting to move differently. Not because everything outside has changed, but because you have. What used to unsettle you no longer has the same grip. What once kept you chasing now calls for pause. This is the evidence that your spirit is no longer living from reaction, it's living from revelation. The old rhythm of striving is falling away. Because striving belongs to survival, but you've entered into something higher alignment. Heaven doesn't pour into desperation, it pours into readiness. And your readiness is no longer a hope, it's a frequency. It's the sound your spirit emits when it becomes synchronized with heaven's timing. You're not waiting for doors to open because of pressure, you're waiting for them to open because of positioning. You've been placed, and now divine timing is locating you. This is what alignment feels like. Not frantic, not forceful, not anxious. It's steady, it's clear, it's deeply anchored in peace. That kind of peace isn't a luxury, it's a confirmation. A sign that heaven is nearby, that what used to require effort now responds to authority. Because now you're not begging, you're believing. You're not chasing, you're carrying. You're not asking for crumbs, you're walking as an heir. This is what God has been waiting for all along, not your perfection, but your positioning. When your soul surrenders striving, your spirit rises in authority. And from that place, things move, things open, things align. Heaven doesn't move on impulse, it moves in precision. That's why the delay felt long. It wasn't punishment. It was heaven waiting for you to become the version of yourself that could carry what you've been asking for. And now that version is rising. You're beginning to feel the difference in your discernment. You're sensing what used to be invisible. Doors you would have once forced you now wait on. Conversations you used to seek, you now release. People you used to cling to you now bless from afar. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. You're no longer fighting battles you've outgrown. Because alignment doesn't feel like striving, it feels like standing. Standing in truth, standing in peace. Standing in awareness that heaven is backing you and you don't need to prove what's already been appointed. That's what favor feels like. When it matures, it stops shouting and starts standing. And listen, favor that flows from alignment won't require your exhaustion. It will require your attention, your awareness, your obedience. Because what's coming isn't something you need to hustle into, it's something you need to host. You're not hustling your way into this next season. You're hosting the presence of God that makes room for everything assigned to you. That's why you feel different. That's why rest has become sacred to you now. That's why your yes is more selective. That's why you've stopped trying to explain your process to people who were never assigned to walk with you in the next chapter. Because alignment teaches you something striving never could. You don't need a crowd when you have a call. And your call is speaking loudly now, not through noise, but through weight. It's showing up in your words, in your silence, in your atmosphere. You've become a carrier of divine timing, and things are starting to shift in response. Ideas are coming faster. Peace is settling deeper. Clarity is landing more often. These aren't coincidences. These are signs that your steps have been ordered, and now you're actually walking in them. You've stopped pushing against locked doors because you trust the God who holds the keys. You've stopped racing to catch up because you realize you were never behind, you were just being built. Now the rhythm has changed. Your spirit no longer dances to panic. It moves to peace. Because you know what it took to get here, and you're no longer willing to trade intimacy with God for visibility with man. That's the fruit of alignment. God becomes louder. Everything else becomes quieter. And it's in that quiet that something sacred is happening. The right people are starting to find you. The right rooms are starting to call for you. The right doors are beginning to unlock not because of your effort, but because of your essence. You've become the kind of person that doors recognize, that favor responds to, that heaven trusts. And heaven doesn't trust carelessly. It trusts those who walk by instruction, not impulse. Those who steward peace as power. Those who know that just because you can doesn't mean you should, because obedience matters more than opportunity. This is your new posture. This is your new position. You don't chase because what's yours can't miss you. You don't force because God's timing doesn't need your panic. You don't shrink because alignment reveals identity. And now your identity is shining through. Not the version you built to survive, but the version God refined to lead. You're not hoping for alignment anymore. You are alignment. And because of that, everything heaven promised is beginning to move in your direction. Not because you performed, but because you've become the person who can carry it. So rest in this truth. You don't need to make it happen. You need to stay in position. Because when alignment meets assignment, movement is inevitable. And movement is near. The moment you stopped striving and started surrendering, the atmosphere began to shift. Heaven doesn't partner with panic, it partners with peace. And peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of clarity. That clarity is what you've been walking in lately, even if the terrain still looks unfamiliar. Something deeper is guiding you now. It's not logic. It's not even emotion. It's discernment, sacred spirit-born discernment. You're learning how to move by divine signals, not surface signs. You've stopped measuring the success of a door by how open it is. You've started asking if it's yours to walk through. That question alone is evidence of maturity. Because you know now not every open door is a God door. Not every opportunity is aligned with your assignment. And not every connection is part of your covenant. This kind of discernment doesn't come from head knowledge. It comes from fire, from the refining, from the deep places where God taught you to hear without noise, to trust without proof, and to walk without a crowd. Now you're beginning to sense the weight of assignment. You're not just called to a platform, you're called to a purpose. And purpose doesn't need applause to be powerful. It needs alignment. It needs anointing. It needs obedience. God is not building celebrities. He's raising up servants who carry fire-tested wisdom and know how to carry his heart into broken places. And he's chosen you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're postured. He saw your yes when no one else did. He saw the nights you cried, but still prayed. He saw the moments you could have compromised, but chose character instead. You didn't know it then, but every one of those moments was adding weight to your voice power, to your prayer's depth, to your authority. This is why you can walk into rooms now and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. Because your spirit carries evidence. You've been with God. You've been in the quiet places. You've been in the furnace where false identities burned off and only the unshakable remained. And now heaven is calling that version of you forward. Not the masked one, not the hustling one, not the wounded one trying to prove something, but the whole one, the healed one, the holy one. Heaven doesn't elevate people who are impressive. It elevates people who are ready. And readiness doesn't look like perfection, it looks like surrender. You've surrendered enough now to walk in places that once intimidated you, not because you think you're better, but because you finally know who you are. This is identity rising, not borrowed, not built on validation, not wrapped in insecurity, but rooted in God's voice alone. And when identity rises, authority follows. You're not waiting to be discovered. You're being deployed. You've spent enough time hidden. Not because God forgot you, but because He was forming you in secret, preparing you to be seen without being shaken. Because the weight of visibility is heavy, and only those who've been anchored in identity can carry it without cracking. Now what you carry is no longer just potential. It's presence, it's weight, it's legacy. God didn't just want to bless you with influence. He wanted to trust you with it. That's why the process felt so long. Because while others were rushing to be known, you were learning how to be faithful. While others were chasing platforms, you were building altars. And now those altars have become launching pads. You're not launching from hype. You're launching from history with God. That's what makes the difference. Because hype fades, history doesn't. Your history with God is your foundation. It's what you fall back on when the room shifts, when the critics rise, when the pressure builds. It reminds you this didn't start with people, and it won't be sustained by them either. God called you. God formed you. God is sending you. And He's not sending you empty-handed. He's sending you full of oil of fire of revelation that's been refined in the dark and is ready to be released in the light. You're not stepping into this next season hoping it works. You're stepping in knowing who sent you. You're stepping in with your hands full and your heart clean. You're stepping in without apology. Because this isn't ambition, it's assignment. An assignment comes with authority. Authority to speak and things shift. Authority to pray and atmospheres move. Authority to stand when others fall. This isn't the season to second-guess your anointing. This is the season to own it. Because heaven is backing you. The earth is groaning for you. And the time is now. So rise not in fear, but in fire. Stand not for show, but in sacred authority. Move not by impulse, but by divine instruction. You've been prepared, you've been placed, you've been postured, and now you're being positioned. The alignment is done. The refining is complete. The signal is clear. Step in air of heaven. It's time. You can feel it in your bones. Now this isn't just momentum, it's movement. Not the kind you manufacture, but the kind heaven ordains. There's no more need to question the stirring in your spirit. You're not imagining it. What you sense is real. The shift has begun, and the terrain under your feet is holy. You've stepped into your appointed season not by chance, but by covenant. This is the manifestation of everything you carried when no one else could see. The seed sown in silence, the faith forged in darkness, the obedience that didn't need applause. All of it has built the altar upon which this moment now rests. Heaven has not overlooked you. It has been waiting for you to become this version of yourself. And now you're not walking forward timidly, you're moving with divine boldness. Not arrogance, but assignment-conscious courage. You don't have to prove what God has already established. The proof is in the fire you endured, the peace you stewarded, the wisdom you now carry. You are no longer hoping for favor, you are walking in it. You are no longer begging for opportunity, you are breathing it. You are no longer wishing for clarity, you are embodying it. Because your very presence now speaks what your words never had to. I've been with God. The evidence is in your countenance, in your rest, in your discernment, in your refusal to move unless the cloud moves first. That's what separates you now. Your steps are not paced by pressure. They're paced by presence. And when the presence of God goes before you, impossibilities become invitations. You are the invitation now. An invitation for others to believe again, to trust again, to surrender again. Because people aren't just watching what you say, they're watching how you walk. And your walk is preaching the gospel louder than a microphone ever could. You're living proof that obedience births breakthrough, that humility builds platforms heaven will actually honor, that what God starts in the wilderness, He finishes in power. And that power is not performative, it's prophetic. You don't just carry vision, you carry God's voice. Your footsteps are echoing with generations of prayers, and the doors opening now aren't just for you, they're for legacy. You are standing on the prayers of your ancestors and paving a path for those who will come after you. And that means this isn't just a moment, it's a mantle. One you were born to carry. So handle it with honor, with reverence, with the quiet confidence of one who knows, I don't own this, I steward it. And stewardship will take you further than ambition ever could. This is the fruit of your hidden seasons, the reward for your private victories. You may not have had a crowd in the valley, but you had a call. And the call was enough to keep you moving when motivation ran dry. Now you stand on the mountain not because you climbed perfectly, but because God carried you. Grace did what grit couldn't. Presence did what performance never could. And love kept you from breaking when everything else tried to convince you that you weren't enough. But here you are, whole, healed, honed, still humble, still hungry, still listening for His voice above all others. That's what makes you dangerous now, not your talent, but your tethering. You're not just gifted, you're grounded. And grounded people don't shake when the winds of success blow in. They root deeper. Because you know this, what God gives only He can sustain. And you'd rather have less with His presence than more without it. That's why the favor on your life will not fizzle. It will flow. And it will keep flowing, not because you chase it, but because you honor its source. Heaven is no longer just visiting your life, it's resting on it. Not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. And faithfulness is the currency of the kingdom. So don't shrink now. Don't doubt the magnitude of what's unfolding. Don't question whether you're qualified. God has already settled that. You are His choice, not by accident, not by default, but by divine design. So lift your head. Walk with fire in your bones and peace in your spirit. The world may call it favor, but you know the truth. It's assignment fulfilled. It's heaven made visible. It's what happens when nothing becomes abundance, when obscurity becomes impact, when surrender becomes legacy. You were chosen for this. and the journey has only just begun.